What's up, guys? Welcome back to Nightmare Talks. I'm Aaron.
I'm Chase.
Today we're going to do an episode that we've been talking about doing for a long time.
Has been a long time.
We actually shot it before, and we had problems with the format, so we weren't able to convert it and edit it. So we're going to try to do this again. But we're going to get into the missing 411.
Yeah.
This particular topic is something that I've kind of borderline been getting obsessed with.
It's intriguing, man.
Years.
This one's definitely intriguing.
Yeah, I got introduced to it during COVID.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of time sitting in the house, obviously, and kind of started diving into it. And man, let me tell you, we like to use that term rabbit hole. This
is definitely.
This might be the biggest rabbit hole of everything. Like when it comes to. Well, let's just rewind. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Missing 411, Missing 411 is basically all the documented cases of people who have gone missing in or around the national parks in the United States, just the United States. And what it was there was a detective from LA named David Pilates who was approached by a park ranger and was told that he should really look into all the people that go missing and are never found and have very suspicious circumstances, to say the least.
Yeah.
And there's over 1,600 cases of these people who have gone missing in these national parks. And so once again, David Pilates was a retired detective, and he was approached by this park ranger, and he started looking into it, and well, there's something to this. There are two movies that we will go ahead and spotlight for this particular topic. There's one. The first one is called just Missing 411, and then there's a second one called Missing 411: The Hunted, which is essentially just about hunters who have gone missing, and were never seen again. And these, once again, these are people who have been hunting the same woods or area their whole entire life, and then all of a sudden they just gone. And they send out search parties, they send out all these people go looking for this person, and nothing. They don't. Well, no, I take that back. Sometimes they do find a lot of clues,
like items, clothing items or other things,
which is strange because like in a couple instances they find the clothes neatly folded under a tree. When it's middle of winter and there's snow on the ground, they'll find the clothes neatly folded, sitting under a tree in plain sight with like the shoes. So,
and that's where I think it's intriguing for Aaron and really myself, because you scratch your head and you're like, of all things in that scenario, like, why would you leave your clothes? It's cold. Even if you're walking, you're just taking off to avoid life. Like you're starting over. Why leave your clothes?
Yeah, and that's where all the possibilities are endless. It's like, okay, so you took off all your clothes and you took the time to fold them neatly and place them under a tree, in plain sight, knowing that somebody was going to find it, or they were kidnapped or killed. And the killer took the time to take your clothes and neatly fold them and place them under a tree. Or, I mean, just once again, like,
just keeps going.
You can hack up some of these cases to, maybe they fell in the river and drowned, or they were attacked by an animal and killed. That wouldn't explain. I don't know any grizzly bears or any wolves that can fold clothes and place them under a tree. So where do these people go?
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, it's a rabbit hole, because you're not talking about 5 people. You're not talking about 20 people. You're talking about over 1,600 and counting.
Yeah.
So, the last time that I pulled up the number, that was 1,600. That could be 1,800 now. That could be 2,000.
Yeah, if not more.
So, the main story that we're going to talk about in this episode, and this is probably going to be one of those episodes that there's going to be multiple episodes in. We're gonna base it off how you guys react to it. If it's something that you guys want us to continue to do more episodes on, so like I said, we're gonna spotlight Missing 411 and Missing 411: The Hunted. Both of those are on Tubi. I know at least one of them are on YouTube. You can find them. They're older. They're not something new that's hard to find. You can find them. if it's something that sounds interesting and intriguing to you, I would definitely check it out, because then at least you can be able to relate to what we're talking about. But we're going to go ahead and focus on one particular case in the Missing 411 movie. So the first movie that was made by David Pilates. And once again, David Pilates he's legit. He's a detective. He's not just some guy who does this as a hobby. He was a detective for LA County, and I'm sure he dealt with many missing persons in his career. And from what I understand, when he was approached by the park rangers, he wasn't even really interested. He's like, guys, I'm retired. You know what I mean? I'm not really interested in this. I'm not working. But then when he started kind of looking into it, just caught his attention and brought him right back into, I got to find out where these people are going.
Yeah.
And they go into that in the movies. Obviously, we can't cover the whole entire movies, but we are going to talk about the case of the missing 2-year-old boy named Keith Parkins. So, bear with me. Look at my notes here. So, Keith Parkins lived in a little town called Ritter, Oregon. He went missing on April 10th of 1952. In the middle of now, in April, in certain parts of the country, there's still snow on the ground. It's still very cold. Some places continue to get snow all the way into May.
Yep.
And so in this particular case, it was still cold, very cold, and there was snow on the ground when Keith Parkins went missing. So the story goes, Chase, I know I'm kind of going on. I'll give you
No, you're good. You're good. I'm letting you tell the story. You're good.
Just trying to set the story here. So Keith and his siblings were in the backyard playing by the barn, and the mom comes out the back door and was like, hey, you guys need to come inside. It's time to eat. So one of the brothers distinctly remembers when he was walking into the house that little Keith was behind him to go into the house. They get inside the house. They go to wash their hands and get ready for dinner. And then obviously the parents are like, where's Keith? And the little boy was like, well, he was right behind me when we were coming in the house. So immediately they start searching for him.
Yeah, man. So with this is where it gets interesting, right? Anybody that has kids, or if you've ever dealt with a 2-year-old, or any kid within that age that can somewhat walk, and depending on your 2-year-old, you might be a little more advanced, but even then, 2-year-olds don't walk very fast. And to me, the red flag is like, he really wouldn't have gotten that far. I compare it to my daughter, like when she was 2, there's no way. Like at 2 years old, she was a wobbling walker. It wasn't really like she could like speed walk where she was going. So even if she had a head start, I could relatively catch up to her pretty quick.
Yeah, let me tell you how far this boy went. Okay, once again, 2 years old with he had warm clothing on, but not the type of clothing that you would wear to trek off into the woods. Yeah. His shoes were very basic shoes. I mean, these were clothes that they would wear to play in the backyard, not to go on a expedition or a camping trip. You know what I mean? So, little Keith, when they start searching for this little boy, from the barn, 3 miles away, this direction, they find his footprints. Okay. So that means he walked 3 miles in cold weather, and I'm assuming that if they're calling them to come in for dinner, it's towards the end of the day, so the sun's probably starting to go down. So this little boy, for whatever reason, walked 3 miles over here, and they found his footprints in a field where the cows were
grazing.
Thank you, Arkansas.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. Hey.
We don't have a lot of cows here in Vegas.
Chill out. They're in the grocery stores. You're welcome.
You're right. They don't move very much. They don't graze very much either. Yeah, so he went 3 miles this way, and then 5 miles back the other direction. They find him face down in the snow at 7 a.m. So he essentially all night long was out in the cold. Mm-hmm. So once again, 3 miles this way, 5 miles back this direction. They find him face down in the snow. He was alive. So it was 19 hours later. Totally.
my thing is like, so I get the attention span of some kids. What would have caused Keith going in? I'm not backtracking to where he's at, going into the house, but if he was right behind his brother going into the house, what got his attention to literally change his mind and go somewhere else? Like, what would have caused him to turn around and go the opposite direction?
Yeah.
If literally heading into the house was already where he was going, what could have, what?
And once again, this is where the rabbit hole
Yeah.
comes in, because you're just like, your mind starts racing, and you try to figure it out, and you try to make sense of it all, right?
Yeah.
If you think that if it's, well, now that I'm thinking about it in my mind, 19 hours later would not be, that would be almost a day.
Yeah.
Right. So if they,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at the notes from the movie, they said they found him at 7 a.m.
Yep.
So that would mean at about 10, 11, so they would be more closer to noon. So now that kind of tells me that the mom called them to come inside at lunchtime, not dinner time, right?
Yep.
So you would think that if you get lost, you're a little kid, regardless of whether you're 2 years old or 20 years old, if you start walking the wrong way, at some point you would realize I'm going the wrong way, and you would turn around and you would look, and I'm assuming that you'd still be able to see the house. There's got to be lights, right?
You would think.
Why?
Well, it's what, 1952 you said?
1952.
So, I mean, depending on how much farmland you're sitting on, I don't know, man.
Well, it's going to get crazier, guys. It's going to get crazier. So, once again, they find him face down in the snow, alive. This kid, so you're looking at a total of 8 miles as the crow flies. So 3 miles this way, 5 miles here. Boom, he's found in the snow, right? Well, Survivor Man, Les Stroud, and once again, I love Les Stroud. I think he's a badass.
Man crush.
He he decides that he looks into this, because this is something that he's kind of intrigued by. So he tries to do the same trek from where the boy was last seen going into the house by the barn to 3 miles away where they found the footprints in the cow pasture, 5 miles back this way up the side of a mountain. Okay, he went up the side of a mountain. They found him up the side of a mountain. He wasn't just on the ground. Survivor Man could not do it in the 19 hours, okay, because he said that it's actually closer to, closer to 10 to 12 miles, because of the fact that it was rugged terrain. There was snow on the ground. So you're talking about a grown man trying to do the exact same route that little 2-year-old Keith did, and wasn't able to do it. There was barbed wire fences that he had to go through. The brush was so thick that it was cutting his arms and his face as he was trying to go through. And you're doing this in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? He was found at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay, questions, like tons and tons of questions.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Grown-ass man compared to a 2-year-old with short legs.
And a grown-ass man who is a survivalist.
And still could not accomplish what said 2-year-old did.
He blatantly says in the movie, it goes over it, that
and then at what
impossible.
point did the little boy end up there too? Like, I mean, that was one of the things, like, so you found him at this time. Cool. How long was Keith there before you found
Right. How
Keith?
long was he laying in the snow?
Like, how long was he actually there before you got to him?
Okay. Once again, there's just too many damn questions, guys. Like,
This is
if a grown
man.
Survivor Man, Les Stroud cannot get from point A to essentially point B and then C in that amount of time. How did Keith do it? How did he survive? How did he not freeze to death? How did he not get eaten by wild animals? I mean, this is Oregon. This isn't. There's wolves. There's bears. There's lots of things that can kill a 2-year-old boy very, very easily.
Absolutely. But I mean, so you think about the grit of a 2-year-old child, right? Like, you think about once he gets an injury, once he gets a cut, once
Right.
he's uncomfortable, or once something hurts him. I know for me, my daughter's not gonna sit around or she's not gonna keep going. If she gets hurt, she's done. She's probably gonna sit on the ground and she's gonna sit there and either be upset about getting hurt, or she's not gonna keep on chugging along. Like, she will stop.
Right.
So the fact this kid potentially got cut up by barbed wire, branches, and all this other stuff, like, who, like, who really knows how this kid ended? Because I'm just thinking from, I mean, you had 2-year-old boys at one point.
Yeah.
Like,
There's no way. I put some little background music just for. I meant to start it earlier, but I was brain farting. No, there's no way, dude. There's no way. My
Yeah.
kids literally, when they got to the point where they couldn't even really see clearly, they
Yeah.
would have just sat down
yeah,
and
just been
started
done.
crying.
Yep.
Or yelling or screaming. That didn't happen. So now you can start delving into what happened to Keith Parsons.
Yep. Or you can at least start to
Parking.
let your questions start happening. Like, and it's Aaron and I can sit here and talk about this, and I mean, we've talked about the story. The possibilities are endless, and we could sit here and debate and say, oh, maybe it was this, maybe it was this, and there could be a very simple explanation. Could have hopped on a cow, rode up there. Like, who really knows? But like, not a very strong probability.
It's 1952. Okay.
That's a tough 2-year-old if he actually made the
Yes.
chug all the way up there.
And,
That
you know,
is a tough 2-year-old.
And we give him credit. Let's give him credit. Oh, yeah. And that's another thing that I need to disclose is he is still alive to this day. And they interview him, and he will tell you he doesn't remember anything, with the exception of he remembers his mom calling him to come into the house. He remembers
And then after that, nothing.
Nothing. Still has the clothes that his mom kept the clothes that they found him in, and they were torn, obviously from the barbed wire fences that he crawled through, or the bushes that he.
That's even more
said he had
interesting.
cuts on his face, so he did walk. There's proof that he did walk, but how did he?
But you know, at 2 years old, like, how much do you really remember? I don't remember crap from when I was 2 years old.
True.
I don't remember a
True.
damn thing from when I was 2 years
But
old.
if it's, you'd think that if it's something traumatic, if
I
you were
mean,
attacked
maybe.
by a bear,
Maybe.
maybe.
The earliest memory, I can recall, like, I'm just trying to relate to the scenario. Like, the earliest memory I can recall from my childhood is, like, 5 years old. Like, just dead honest. Like, and
Yeah.
it's the one time something traumatic happened to me where, given it wasn't really that traumatic, a dog just ran up, tackled me, and licked me. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to compare it to something like that where you can relate to what happened. And I don't know, like, can you not remember because of just simply time that has passed?
Or
And, like,
because
you
he was
just,
so
it's a memory
young.
that's forgotten? Or is there something else behind the reason that he doesn't remember what happened?
That's a very good point. And I guess you can't really expect a 2-year-old to remember exactly what happened.
No, you can't.
Who knows?
No.
But at some point, you have to start looking at
Possibilities?
possibilities. That's the word I was looking for. You have to start looking at possibilities.
Yeah.
And one of the possibilities is alien abduction. Let's just be honest. Alien abduction. Was this little boy abducted and taken from there
And placed.
and then dropped off up the side of a mountain in the snow, face down? I mean, I guess that wouldn't really explain the scratches and his clothes being torn unless
He
was
had 'em
abducted
before he was taken.
after he had torn his clothes.
My thing is what got his attention to walk away from his
There you
house. That's my key thing that I keep going back to is what got little Keith's attention to make him leave from going inside his home to go do whatever was getting his attention.
And it had to have not just got his attention, but actually drew him to that. Made him walk away.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
if he was still, let's say it was a UFO and there was a light in the sky or it was hovering above the trees or whatever, it didn't in the documentary. It doesn't seem like it was that long from
Yeah.
the time the kids went inside the house to the point where the parents realized Keith wasn't in there. They could have easily just went right back in the backyard, which I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
And he'd kind of still be standing there or
Yeah.
still be in the background vicinity, right? Like, mommy, there was a bright light in the trees.
Yeah.
And there was a
Yeah.
spaceship or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, people knew what UFOs were in the 50s.
Right. My other thing is I wonder, the other question is, how cold was it that night? How cold did it get?
Well, they said it got to freezing temperatures.
And you have
Up the
cold.
mountain.
So absolutely. So you're sitting at least 32,
Yeah.
if not colder. Because how long can a 2-year-old survive out in very freezing temperatures with snow?
Yeah.
The pot, like,
Crazy shit does happen.
Like
will say
he could
that.
have been out there. Like he was out there for what 19 hours by the time they got to him. Like that's a long time. That is a very long
Yeah.
time for a 2-year-old.
It-
And for him to be alive, I'm sorry, it kind of just doesn't make sense.
But that's the thing is this is one case, guys. This is one case. There's 1,599 other cases
Yeah.
that are similar to this, and these are cases that it's separate from some kid who just goes missing at a field trip or something because they wandered off and got too far away from the rest of the group,
Yeah.
and got once again attacked by a wild animal or fell into a river and drowned or something like that, fell into a hole. I mean, these are different because of the fact that at the end of the day, when the investigation is done, I mean, once again, search parties come out and they thoroughly search these areas, and in some cases, they will find the person who was missing sometimes days later in an area that they had searched numerous times, just sitting there. Once again, and these are there's tons and tons of stories. I don't remember how many books that David Pilatus has written, but he's got numerous books plus these 2 movies. 1,600 cases that just can't be explained, and you get into, like I said, you get into the second movie, the full-length movie called The Hunted, Missing 411, The Hunted, and now you're talking about grown-ass men. You're not talking about 2-year-old boys. You're talking about grown-ass men who've been hunting their whole entire life, that are very experienced, very familiar with that area. Some of those guys had been hunting it their whole entire life, and then all of a sudden, one day, boom, he was beside me. He said he was going to go over here and take a leak by the tree, and he was gone. Okay, did he disappear because he hated his wife and wanted to start a new life somewhere else? Possibly. But that doesn't explain all of them. And still then, where are the traces of where he went? If you're going to walk off in the snow this direction to a car that you had parked somewhere, you're going to find footprints, right?
Yeah.
Guys, that's what makes Missing 411 such a rabbit hole, is because detectives and law enforcement and FBI and all these people do thorough investigations, and they come back at the end of it and say, we don't know what happened. We have no explanation. We don't know what happened. So we'll delve into the Hunted in another episode. We kind of want to see how you guys respond to this episode. See
It's a brain teaser, man. It's one of those where you could sit here and dwell on it for a long time, but still by the end of it, like, you're stuck right where we're at. We're just like, all we can do is really talk about it and wonder, like,
it's
how
crazy.
did that happen?
It's crazy. Some of these cases are just insane. Like I said, we covered Keith Parsons because it was the first episode that you're going to encounter when you start the movie. It's intriguing, gets your attention.
Yep.
And the fact that he's a little kid and he was able to go that far in that amount of time and survive in the snow.
2 years old. That's crazy.
To me, it's just it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, then Les Stroud's come in and he's like, dude, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the route that this kid took. I couldn't do it in that amount of time.
Which makes you wonder, how did they find the tracks of Keith doing it? Like, let's say it was an abduction. Like, do you think? I don't know. This is the brain wondering, right? Like, this is how this works. Like, if he was abducted, he was taken. He didn't walk the trail either. Like, he didn't take that path either. So,
Or maybe he did. How the hell did he do it? How did he do it?
and then that's the other part. If little 2-year-old Keith absolutely did exactly what it says he did, then how?
Amazing.
How?
I mean, there is the story of the girl who, the plane, I don't know if you remember this, it's an older story too, where her plane went down and she survived in the Amazon. She was the only survivor from the whole entire plane. And she survived in the Amazon for a long time. I don't know the exact amount of time.
I remember that story.
And she was just a young girl. She was like 15 or something like that. And she survived for, I want to say it was months, possibly years, in the middle of the Amazon, guys. This is like the most dangerous place in the world. And she survived, and they found her. And she had, it's amazing. It's amazing.
That's a whole nother,
Whole nother
that right there is a whole nother, like, I don't even know how to explain. That's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where you come in and you have to try to put the pieces of the puzzle together yourself and try to
Yep.
be like, and that's what makes it so in borderline an obsession with me anyway. Is you sit here and you try to connect the dots and you try to put the pieces of the puzzle together and you're just like, you figure out one thing and then it just raises five more questions and you're like, wait, okay, so maybe that happened, but then this and this and
Yeah,
this still
exactly.
can't be
But
explained.
do you really figure it out though? That's where you get to with this is you come up with ideas of what you think could be, and then you try to place it, and you're like,
Nope.
there that can't be it.
Nope.
I don't know, man. Yeah. Hey, look, this is why we have these conversations, because all
Well-
it can do is boggle your mind, and you will never know the answer.
And that's what this channel is about. Once again, guys, is this is about us trying to introduce you to things that you may have not heard about that might spark your interest and intrigue you, and something that you might want to look into for yourself.
Yep.
To me, you can sit there and you can watch movies all day
Yep.
that are fake.
Yeah.
You know, horror movies or suspense movies, dramas, whatever. But at the end of the day, you know that it's paid actors that are getting paid, and they're reading a script and they're doing exactly what they're told to do. But then you have these things that happen in real life
Yep.
that can never be explained. To me, it's just that's so much more intriguing than a 2.5 hour movie or.
Well, Aaron, I don't know. I guess it depends on how good of a 2.5 hour movie you get.
This is true. This is true.
I mean, don't get me wrong. So there's a difference between real life and what's on a movie screen, right? But this doesn't necessarily, when you talk scary movie compared to this doesn't scare me. This just raises my curiosity and makes me wonder.
right.
It's not so much that it, doesn't scary movie scare me, if you will. But I see what you're saying. But this is kind of different in the sense to know, like, stuff like this happens,
Yeah.
and you never end up with answers. Like the parents of Keith, like I can only imagine how they felt, like to not know how your child did such a thing. Oh, and by the way, survive.
Yeah.
The
That's something
probability
will
of that
haunt
has to be
you.
so slim. Like
It's just gonna
that's
haunt you your
so
whole life. Like
terrible.
what happened to him? I'm
Yeah.
thankful and I'm very fortunate that he's still alive.
Yeah.
But what the hell happened to Keith?
how- yeah.
Where did he go for 19 hours?
Yep.
As a parent, that would drive me insane. And it would haunt me until the day I died. And now you got Keith, who's a grown man, who was obviously told at some point in his life that, hey, you disappeared for 19 hours,
Yeah.
dude. This is what happened.
Yeah.
There's a freaking movie about you. You have to essentially go through your whole life trying to figure out, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
Where-
What happened? How did I end up?
and
where
why
was
can't
at?
I remember?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I do believe that when something traumatizing happens to you, your brain can react two ways. It can remember that and you'll never forget it
Yep.
your whole life, or you can shut it out and you try to block that. And that's pretty traumatizing.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's 2 years old. He's a little kid. I don't know, man. Like my brain just tries to wrap around it, dude.
I don't have answers, man. And like I said, and I mean we've talked about it. We can try to draw conclusions. We can come up with different ideas, but the real answer is not going to be known. Unfortunately, the one person who could know doesn't remember anything that happened. So, I don't know, man. That's
It's mind-boggling.
That is a brain scratcher for sure, because it's not going to get solved.
It's mind-boggling. And like I said, there's tons and tons and tons of other cases like this. To me, this wasn't the most unexplainable one. I will say that you guys will see other things in the movies, and if you start reading the books, you're gonna come across things too that to me are even more extraordinary and just unbelievable. But this one is pretty significant in the fact that it happened and he lived.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be nice if they could find like grown ass adults that have something like this happen, and then they can actually recall what happened. actually
That's
there are
true.
cases like
Yeah.
that. There's lots of people that claim to have been abducted, and they actually have details and stuff. And of course, everybody just kind of blows them off and says they're crazy, they smoke too much crack, or they're a meth head or whatever. And maybe they are.
I don't know.
But once again, just to me, it's intriguing. So let us know what you guys think. Check out those two movies, Missing 411, Missing 411 The Hunted. Check it out. Let us know what you guys think. And if you guys know anything about it too, I know people that are in law enforcement that are very familiar with a lot of these cases. And once again, it's very strange
Yeah.
that it's majority of them are happening in national parks,
Yep.
places that we think are safe. You know what I mean? Like, these are government owned, patrolled. There's park rangers that drive around these places. This isn't the middle of nowhere. I mean, they are isolated, but these are national parks. These are places that people visit.
I wouldn't say they're necessarily safe. I wouldn't go
Well-
safe in as far as the word. I mean, you shouldn't be hunted by no means, but I mean, I wouldn't say that you're safe because Mother Nature, take your grizzly, take
Yeah, obviously.
a moose, I mean, just depending on where you're at, like, there's all these things that your natural, like, typical predators, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with the existence of aliens being acknowledged, like, you can't always rule things out. You can't always say no. Like, I don't think that was it. I mean, you can, but you can't rule out the possibility. It has to be a consideration for things. And then Sasquatch, that's a whole nother...
Yeah.
That in itself within national parks, like, I could go off on a tangent, but
There's numerous cases of people, children, that say that they were saved by the bear man or the man bear. Who knows? I mean, that's a whole nother thing as well.
it wasn't Oregon.
No, I don't think that was the case anymore, but it was in Arkansas. There was a little
No,
girl
I'm talking about Keith.
Oh, Keith.
Maybe maybe Bigfoot picked him up and said, "Let's go."
Who knows, man?
See?
Never
That's what
know.
I'm saying. Don't know.
Never know. Anyways, so yeah, let us know what you guys think about that. Let us know what you guys think about. That's kind of what I was saying. Where I was saying that I know people who are in law enforcement that are familiar with it, and it's just it's crazy that you can have some of these search parties are thousands of people that search every inch of every for miles and miles and miles and find nothing.
Yep.
They find nothing.
Yep.
If you think that if you're a hunter and you get attacked by a bear, there'd be a gunshot where there'd be the empty,
There'd be something.
or you would find the gun itself, because obviously a gun's kind of hard to carry and it's heavy. If you're trying to run and get away from something, you're going to be trying to dump your backpack or dump stuff to be able to move faster, right? Nothing. They don't find anything. And then, like, back to the cases where they find freaking the person's clothing folded neatly. Once again, it's just mind-boggling
Yep.
to me, and it's one of those things that I think it's just very, very, very interesting, to say the least. So.
Yep. Agreed, man.
All right, guys. Well, once again, we're trying to bring you guys more content, so let us know what you thought of this episode. If you guys have any ideas for any upcoming episodes, anything that you'd like us to do, like us to talk about, let us know.
Always open to suggestions.
We're here for
Always.
you guys, and we want to keep continuing to try to give you guys stuff that you're interested in, that So,
Yeah.
Chase,
I like it.
got anything else?
Yeah, man. Like, share, subscribe.
Yeah. And hang in there, guys. Stay tuned. Hopefully, we can bring you some more content soon. We'll talk to you later.
Later.
Bye.